Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 8 of What If Naruto was the descendant of Vergil. If you guys enjoyed this what if, and want to see part 9 of it, comment down below and let me know. The like goal for this video is 100 likes. So like this video, to let me know that you're interested in this series, and you want the next part. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. When Vergil got home, his priority to reporting to the Hokage came first, as he entered her office with Kakashi, and gave a detailed mission report on the events that took place in Snow Country. Handing Tsunade both the alliance and trade rights papers he had been given to him by the princess/actress of the country. Tsunade nearly flipped out when Vergil mentioned the whole thing with Cerberus, causing problems for the people there, and how he fought the demonic dog, before earning his soul to use as a weapon. The female Hokage was impressed by the sight of Cerberus in weapon form, but she scowled at his demonstration, which with a simple touch froze her sake, and this type of sake was special when warm. Ignoring his grinning face since she did ask for a simple demonstration, Tsunade told him collect his pay, and prepare an official written mission report to have on record. Vergil just nodded before leaving to do just that, as he collected his payment for services during the mission rendered, and was returning home to the Namikaze estates. He was stopped, however, when the sight of something in an alley caught his attention, and was making his blood boiling inside. Mitarashi Onko had been forced to her knees, hands held behind her back, and she was surrounded by a bunch of variously ranked shinobi. All of them, who by the looks of things, were not there simply to talk to her in a cordial manner, and saw the dangerous wild look in their eyes. It was a look that spoke of a nightmarish hell for Onko, if they succeeded in getting what they wanted from her, and from the group surrounding the currently putting up a strong front, despite knowing what was about to happen. Okay snake bitch. Here's how it's going to play out for the next couple of hours. We are going to strip you of what little clothing you're wearing and service us with that mouth of yours, before we tap that ass without any kind of complaints. Got it? Said a Chunin looking for tail, to have since his wife divorced him, not that long ago, after getting caught cheating. Sorry, I don't speak limp dick pig, said Onko seeing the man growl at her and pull out a kunai. Hold her down. Time to make this whore know where she currently stands with us here in the leaf, said the Chunin seeing his buddies about to jump Onko when they sensed a presence behind him. How pathetic. All of you teaming up to take down a beautiful woman like her, the simple pleasures of the flesh she doesn't wish to give you willingly. I find people like you to be truly deserving of the lowest reaches of hell, said Vergil coldly, walking towards the group and saw them take out weapons, while the one holding Onko still kept her pinned down. Like you're one to talk here, demon boy. You kind are from hell and should stay in hell forever, said the Chunin, pointing the kunai at Vergil, who just shook his head, and took out his icy blue nunchaku that was Cerberus. So what if my kind are from hell? The fact people like you get sent there for sins just like this should tell you just how bad your species are in terms of committing horrible acts against this world. You speak of honor, yet you do the opposite, and try to rape this woman before you, said Vergil, as he saw them chuckle, and raised an eyebrow at them. This bitch isn't a woman. Even if she was, every guy male worth his appendage downstairs knows women are nothing more than things used to appease their betters. All a woman is really good for is cooking, cleaning, spreading her legs for the dominant, and clearly superior gender, said the Jonin, holding Onko down. I have heard enough. I won't stand by and let you dishonor the female gender anymore. Die, said Vergil, as he moved into action, and used his new weapon with great skill he had acquired on the trip back, using shadow clones to help in using them. When the blunt-based weapons made contact with the areas of human flesh they hit, the limb was covered in ice, and from the force behind the blow caused the limb's hit to break into multiple pieces. Legs, arms, heads, and chests all were struck by Vergil's lethal weapon of choice, with the only man left aside from the Namikaze himself left alive, if not physically whole in the alley, was the one holding Onko. The man realized he was in a no-win situation, as he was vulnerable to attack by Vergil if he kept Onko held down, and if he let her go to run there was a chance the woman would use her INT skills on him. Please don't kill me, said the Jonin, as he saw some of his buddies still alive, but now with a few less limbs to call their own, and crying out in pain. Why should I listen to you? If you should be begging anyone for mercy here, it would be the woman you're holding down and attempted to rape, said Vergil before he struck another Chunin of the group on the skull with Cerberus, with the combination of the ground, caused it to break into a couple hundred pieces. Instead of answering, the Jonin picked Onko off the ground, and shoved her into Vergil, before making a quick run for the public places of Konoha, knowing he could use it to keep himself safe for a time until a plan could be worked out. He was almost out of the alley when snakes from one pissed off Mitarashi Onko shot out of her trench coat, and pulled him back into the alley. You bastard. I'm going to enjoy making you suffer, said Onko, kicking the man in the groin, before the Jonin could cry out for help, and effectively silenced him by the force of blow. You want me to assist, said Vergil, as Onko brought out more of her snakes, and could tell they were in the same pain-creating vibe-like state she was in. That's sweet of you, Vergil-kun, but I will handle this on my own, and teach this fool a proper lesson about women being equal to men, said Unko, as she saw Vergil nod and leave the alley. Mercy, cried out the Jonin in a whispery voice. Sorry little man. This snake bitch is all out of mercy, said Unko, as she unleashed her rage and pain upon this whimpering little man, now finding his voice again to scream out for everyone to hear. And justice for one of the oppressed women of the world has now been served, thought Vergil, as he entered the Namikaze estates, and was instantly glomped upon by the group of girls waiting for his return. Vergil-sama, Vergil-kun, said the girls at once, while they snuggled against him. Hello, girls. Behaving yourselves while I was gone, I take it, said Vergil, as he saw them nod, and it brought a smile to his face. We've been on our best behavior, Vergil-sama, said Kin, knowing if she and Teiwaya weren't, then they would be punished. Training hard. Getting stronger, said Vergil, seeing them all nod again. Vegito-chan helped out a lot, since she has a lot of experience in being a shinobi, said Takumo, as she had to do a lot of physical fitness once her muscles were strong enough, and was making up for lost time. That's good to hear. I want you girls to be as strong as possible, said Vergil, knowing the stronger they were should they have to fight, the better prepared they'd be for when the enemies outside and in the village wanted to get to him. We will be. Any fucker comes here, they're going to regret it, and are going to lose their nuts for trying, said Teiwaya, as he saw Kin's scowl, and Hinata blush at her choice of bad language. Teiwaya-chan, we have guests in this house. You know how I feel about swearing, said Vergil in a scolding voice. Sorry Vergil-sama, but the thought of some jerk coming here to hurt you, and any of us just pisses me off, said Teiwaya, trying to keep her swearing in check, but it wasn't easy, and even more so, when the thought of her new friends in the house could be targeted too. I understand. Because you didn't swear when you wanted to just now, I'll let you off with a warning, and not punish you. Okay, said Vergil, seeing Teiwaya nod. Are you hungry, Vergil-sama? We could make something for you, said Kin, as she had Haku's and Hinata's help in cooking for him. I would like something to eat, thank you, Kin-chan, said Vergil, as he along with his female companions walked into the kitchen to hear about the mission and what happened with the female client. At HQ. How are your new Sharingan eyes, Sasuke, said Danzo, as he had a pair of Sharingan eyes preserved in a jar, after running out room on his arm, and held onto them should he need to use his other arm for such surgery. Fine. Strange, but fine all the same. How did you make this transplant possible, said Sasuke, seeing Danzo looking at him with his own bandaged emotionless face. After your kin were slaughtered, I had several Sharingan eyes saved from complete and utter destruction to be transplanted should anything happen to yours. You've already seen the results with Kakashi's Sharingan eye, which was given to him by his teammate of an Uchiha, back when he was still in three-man cell with the late Yondaime, and has been a master of the eye ever since. However, you'll find that unlike Kakashi's eye, the pair you have will turn back to their normal black ones, since you are of Uchiha clan blood, and have the natural ability to change them back, said Danzo, as he saw Sasuke turn the Sharingan eyes off, and was now smirking at him. I take it the Hokage doesn't know, said Sasuke, seeing Danzo nod, since it took quite a bit of influential manipulation to spring the Uchiha from his hospital room to this secret underground facility. She is a fool. Both as a Hokage and a Senju. She favors that demonic abomination over you. Her way of thinking will bring about the destruction of Konoha, said Danzo, seeing Sasuke scowl at Tsunade's last name and the mentioning of Vergil. I want his power. I want it to be mine, said Sasuke, seeing Danzo nod again. I am preparing to make my move against the Hokage and the boy. When he is captured, I will prepare the means to transfer that power to you, and allow then see to it that you can hunt down Itachi to avenge the Uchiha clan, said Danzo, seeing Sasuke nod with a sinister smile now forming on the boy's face. And those women that were living with him, said Sasuke, knowing there were quite a few females living at the Namikaze estates. Yours, said Danzo, seeing Sasuke liking the idea more and more. And you can guarantee my revenge against Itachi, said Sasuke, knowing it was what he wanted most. Uchiha Sasuke, I can guarantee that with my help, you will become the first Uchiha to be Hokage of the Leaf, and will rub it in the demon's face before his time in this world is over, said Danzo, seeing Sasuke grinning evilly at the idea and taking that dream from the Namikaze. When do we start, said Sasuke, as he was eager to take Vergil down, and have all that he wanted. Soon, said Danzo before walking away from the boy to put his original plan into action, knowing that should this fail, he would resort to taking the leaf by force. Hokage Tower. Council meeting room. Several days later. Tsunade hated meetings with these idiots, as she always did, since they were the same old with these people in wanting Vergil dead, exiled, or sometimes both, with the former happening soon after the latter for the safety of Konoha. They always went on about how Vergil was a threat to the Leaf, could not be controlled, had no loyalty to the Leaf, which if was the case would ironically be their fault, but would never admit it, and etc. This was one of those meetings. Hokage-sama, you cannot stand by and let this thing get away with brutalizing shinobi of the Leaf. You must punish him. said Hamura, as he saw Tsunade looking over the incident report filed by the so-called innocent survivors of Vergil's attack, and was not impressed in the slightest. Especially when she knew the reason behind the attack. This incident report you filed on their behalf doesn't explain why Vergil attacked them in the alley. Surely he had a reason, said Tsunade, seeing members of the civilian council snorting and the shinobi council scoffing at the idea. He's a demon. Demons do not need a reason to attack human beings, said Kaheru, as she had kept the reason behind the attack out of the report for a reason, and nailed the smug Namikaze with their laws. Funny you should say that because it just so happens, I know the reason why it happened in the first place, said Tsunade calmly, though she did notice Danzo's one eye narrowing slightly at this news, and it was clearly unexpected, since he wanted to jump at the chance to say something to influence this meeting in his favor. What was the cause of him attacking? Said Inizukatsume, as she, like the other clan heads at this meeting, thought it was pointless, and a waste of everyone's time. Apparently, this select group of shinobi were trying to make an attempt at raping one Mitarashi Anko, and Vergil stepped in before making them pay for it, said Tsunade, seeing the Inizuka woman look ready to hunt the fools still alive down, and destroy what was left of them. That snake slut. Please. Everyone knows it's impossible to rape that woman because she spreads her legs to every male around her. It's clear the woman was going to pleasure them all, the demon interfered, and now she's trying to cover it up, so we don't punish her for public indecency, said Hamura, as he never liked that woman, and always thought Anko was just like Orochimaru in every traitorous way. Vergil and Anko's surviving victims have already had a round with the Biki. From what they spilled to him out of fear of facing those two again, it would seem they all thought, what you do about Anko being indecent, and tried to prey on that. Each shinobi admitted their guilt in the act, and corroborates the statements I have about the incident after you filed to report against Vergil. These charges against him are dropped and this meeting is over, said Tsunade, but it was clear the shinobi council and Danzo were not done. I demand that damn boy be exiled. I will appeal this decision to the fire daimyo if you don't, said Danzo, as he saw Tsunade narrow her eyes at him, and look ready to take his head clean off with one punch. Appeal all you want, Danzo, but exiling the boy is the last thing the Leaf should do right now, considering it is because of Namikaze Vergil. The Leaf has obtained an alliance and trade rights with Snow Country's new daimyo. If we do anything, whether exile, or even execute him for whatever charges you bring, it instantly remove us that country's good graces, said Tsunade, seeing Danzo's hand tighten on his cane. I'm giving you one last chance, Tsunade. Exile him. Now, said Danzo, seeing the female Hokage hitting him with killer intent. The answer, Danzo, is no. Threaten me again, and you'll regret it, said Tsunade, as she saw Danzo seething now, and leave the room in his own dramatic way of defying her. This is not over, Tsunade. We will have our way, whether you like it or not, said Kaheru before she and Hamura left the room, to show their own support for Danzo. The civilian council quickly doing the same. Arrogant bigots. They think only of money and power they think comes with it, said Tsunade before an Anbu assigned to guard the Uchiha came in. Hokage-sama. Uchiha Sasuke was taken from his room. There is evidence he went with whoever took him willingly, said the Anbu, who had been put under genjutsu by Danzo at the time, and only broke free from it due to the change in the shift came early. There was silence as everyone looked at the Hokage, as she now had a scowl on her face far deeper than they had ever seen before, and it was truly a scary sight to behold. Fuck, yelled Tsunade, as she threw the table in front of her out the window, and had a "I'm very pissed off" look on her face. I want my wife, thought Narashikaku, as he knew his wife was scary, but she was a tame kitten compared to the Hokage right now. Lock the village down. Find Uchiha Sasuke now. Search under every rock, tree, and building in the Leaf. Anyone gives you any lip, tell them I told you to look, and to find that mentally unstable prick of an Uchiha. Use those exact words. Depending on what their reactions are, we can learn who would help hide him, and who would rat the bastard out, said Tsunade, as she saw the Anbu nod, and leave to carry out her orders. I take it we should prepare for the worst, Hokage-sama, said Hiashi, as he was having a sense of a dark forebodingness, and felt the need to secure the safety of his clan. They all did. Yes. Do so at once, said Tsunade, as she sensed what Hiashi did, and her instincts on this matter were never wrong. Danzo's actions today at the meeting, his demands, the threat, and the walking out, were all signs of an impending clash of two different ideologies that could no longer coexist in one village. The unstoppable force had finally run into the immovable object, and the two were going to clash real soon to see which one would have the privilege of survival. With Namikaze Vergil in the center of it all. Bird HQ. From the angry look on your face, I take it the Hokage didn't agree with anything you wanted, and asserted her power, said Sasuke calmly, seeing Danzo and the two shinobi councilmen looking angry. What does she know how to run the village? That woman is unfit to be Hokage. Her own connection to the demon has clouded her judgment, thinking that thing deserves to be treated with respect and kindness like he was an actual human being. The human race does not bow to the whims of demons, monsters, the Shinigami, and Kami himself. We are beyond the rules of such so-called higher powers. As for Tsunade, the only reason that bitch was even chosen by the Sandaime was simply due to him lacking options in terms of successors, said Danzo, slamming end of his cane down hard on the floor. He walked on with each angry step he took. "Are your forces in places to overthrow her?" said Hamura, as he saw Danzo nod, since it was always more than a possibility Tsunade would turn down any demands made, and stuck to her usual ways of running Konoha. "They're all waiting for my command. Soon the leaf will be ours to run, and there is nothing that bitch can do to stop it," said Danzo, knowing Tsunade's time being Hokage was dwindling down to nothing. "The time is now. I want the power to kill Itachi. I'm tired of being held back by everyone around me," said Sasuke, as he wanted his revenge, and he wanted it now. "Patience, Sasuke. You will have it soon. Signal our forces to strike in a few hours," said Danzo to one of his root subordinates in the shadows. Namikaze states. Master bedroom. Hours later. "Damn. Did you know how to please Vergil-sama," said Teiwaya, as she was on top of him, sweating from all the love-making they had done, and saw an equally naked Kin crawling up slightly next to them to rest her head on his shoulder. "That's because Vergil-sama is a loving master. A sharing master," said Kin softly, and the moans of the other girls around the large king-size bed were all moaning too, in full agreement. They loved shadow clones more than ever. "Thank you for involving me in this, Vergil-kun," said Yakumo, as she snuggled up to one section of Vergil, while Hinata did the same on the opposite side, with Yujito and Haku resting around the center of his waist. "How did this happen again?" said Vergil, wondering how it did happen in the first place. One minute, they were all sitting down, happily eating lunch, talking, laughing, and then the next they were here, making hot, passionate love-making on this bed, and this being the first for several of the girls lying on this bed on top of him. Vergil wasn't complaining, of course. What straight male would? The fact remains, it did happen, and now Vergil was in a sense a man amongst men, if it was learned 6 girls had been pleased by him. "I blame Kin's cooking," said Teiwaya, who got a glare from Kin, and heard the other girls chuckle. "That could be a distinct possibility, since that is the last thing I remember before this all happened," said Vergil, hearing more laughter from the girls. "Vergil-kun," said Kin in a slightly whining voice and quivering lip. "I didn't say it was a bad thing, Kin-chan. Merely stating it was unexpected," said Vergil, as he suspected Kin had accidentally used an aphrodisiac, and when they all sat down to eat had the current situation with them now on the bed explained itself. "Unexpected, but still pleasant," said Haku, smiling up at him. "Damn right," said Teiwaya before the door downstairs was knocked on, and the girls all groaned at Vergil having to answer the door. "Ignore it," said Yujito. "This is our time," said Haku. "Stay here and we'll make it worth your while," said Kin. "Whoever is at the Kami damn door can just go fuck off," said Teiwaya, yelling the last part while getting sweat drops from everyone around her. "What she said," said Yakumo. "Ditto," said Hinata. "Sorry girls, but you know this could be important. If it's not, then I'll make it up to all of you," said Vergil, seeing them think it over before nodding, and reluctantly led him off of the bed to get dressed and bathrobe. "So Kin, what did you put in that food?" said Teiwaya, seeing Kin blush, and told her what the ingredients were, with Yujito blushing, since one of the ingredients was a very potent aphrodisiac. "Kin-chan, I have one question to ask you, and it's very important that you answer me honestly without any form of deception," said Haku, rising slightly from her position on the bed. "What?" said Kin curiously. "You wrote down how to make it again, right?" said Haku, smiling at Kin, who smiled back, and nodded, since she always did when making food, so it could be changed at a later date in case the meal didn't taste right. "Absolutely," said Kin, as she heard the girls squeal with delight, and knew that the dish she made was going to be a recurring thing. Meanwhile, Vergil smirked, having heard their brief conversation, and shook his head before he made it to the downstairs doorway. After opening it, he was surprised to see Anko and Shizune there, though it was clear from the looks on their faces they were here strictly for business purposes. "Something big is about to happen, isn't there?" said Vergil, seeing the two women nod. "Yep. Can we come in, or are we interrupting anything?" said Anko with a small grin, with Shizune blushing at seeing Vergil wearing only a bathrobe. "No. Everything is fine. Come in and fill me in on the details," said Vergil, letting the two in and shutting the door. "To be blunt, brat, the councils wanted their usual demands met, and you out of Konoha for good," said Anko, sitting down on the couch in a slightly provocative manner. "Not surprising. The ones she's gone to are just a small handful compared to the rest of my life." "Was it exile they wanted, or execution this time?" said Vergil, seeing Shizune's shocked look of surprise. "You mean the meetings Tsunade-sama has gone to about these things are just a handful of them?" said Shizune, while Anko just nodded grimly. "Yeah. Individually, as it currently stands, the total numbers were 364 for Naruto's exile, and 524 for his execution being requested when the Sandaime was in charge," said Anko, seeing Vergil just shrug it off. "How bad was it this time?" said Vergil, having sat down in his own chair, seeing Shizune fidget for a moment. "Bad, Vergil-kun. Danzo wanted you banished immediately. Normally, he was demanding it, but when Tsunade turned down the request, the man would leave it alone, and act like the words that came out of his mouth didn't leave him. After Tsunade-sama told him no, he stormed out of the room with the shinobi and civilian council following behind him. Another problem that's come up is Uchiha Sasuke has gone missing, and the village has been on lockdown since then. Said Shizune, knowing someone like Danzo was not to be underestimated if the fact he was a rival for the title of Sandaime Hokage was indeed true. He's desperate, plain and simple. The man has waited years upon years to take control of the leaf, and now sees it slipping away with Tsunade in control. Danzo will take the leaf by force, said Vergil, simply knowing that was the Hokage's assessment too. The only question now is when, said Shizune, knowing it could be at any time at any moment. There were several loud explosions echoing throughout the village. Now it seems, said Vergil, seeing the girls come down moments later ready for a fight, and Haku handed him his clothes. We heard everything, Vergil-kun, said Haku, seeing him nod in understanding. Yakumo, you stay here. You're still not ready to use your skills yet, and Danzo's forces are nothing to sneeze at. Teiwaya and Kin will do the same in staying here, while the rest of you are with me, said Vergil, as he walked into a nearby bathroom, and was out mere seconds later with sword in hand. I need to find Tsunade-sama and assist her, since it's clear Danzo will seek to eliminate her to solidify his power, said Shizune, seeing Vergil nod. Well, I'm staying with the brat. All the root blood we're going to spill gets my adrenaline pumping, said Anko, making everyone around her sweat drop. She's not normal, said Yujiro to Haku. And we are, said Haku back, with Yujiro being sheepish. Good point, said Yujiro, rubbing the back of her head. Time to handle this annoyance once and for all. Be on your guard, all of you. Knowing our enemies, they don't play fair, or will show mercy. Don't show them any either, else you'll die, or worse, said Vergil, seeing Hinata and Haku nod, since they were always against killing needlessly. Hinata now more than Haku, but the once shy Hyuga girl had the inner strength to fight, and Vergil knew she would use it when needed. With that said, they exited the Namikaze estates, and ran deep into the thick of things in the leaf with root forces, along with those supporting them fighting other shinobi loyal to the Hokage. The people had formed mobs, rioting was breaking out, and already the means to put them down was thin due to root shinobi assisting them. And in the middle of it all was Uchiha Sasuke. The boy had a new pair of Sharingan eyes with 3 tomos in them that ironically belonged to his father, and were now being used by him. Behind Sasuke was a mob of people, demanding the boy be acknowledged for his greatness, though what that greatness was, no one really knew, but wanted it anyway, and they wanted it now. Come out, loser. Come out and face me and my allies so I can take what's yours, thought Sasuke, as he marched towards the Hokage tower, and wasn't disappointed when he saw Vergil waiting for him with most of the women he knew had flocked to the Namikaze estates in such a short time. Soon they would his, and he'd make the loser of a Namikaze watch as they gave birth to Uchiha children. Not Namikaze. Hello, loser. Surprised to see me with a new pair of Sharingan eyes, said Sasuke confidently, with Vergil narrowing his own at the Uchiha. So Danzo gave you an eye transplant. Is that supposed to impress me? What did you have to do for him to get it? Suck his cock. Take it up the ass. Do both. I mean, I knew you would do anything for Power Team, but even I didn't know you do anything in that sense, and said Vergil, seeing Sasuke get angry at him for it. Shut your mouth, loser. When I'm done with you, I'll have that demonic power within your body, and those women behind you at my feet being forced to produce child after child of Uchiha blood that will train to become the most ruthless killers in the world to one day crush all who oppose me, said Sasuke, as he saw Vergil's power flare around him, and knew that the Namikaze was not pleased. Girls, leave. Now. This is something that needs to be dealt with in my own way, said Vergil, with his voice being cold and leaving no room for arguing. He's so dead, said Anko before leaping away with the others. Would you make them leave, loser? Don't want them seeing you lose to an elite shinobi demon, said Sasuke, with the tomos in his eyes spinning wildly. No. I don't want them to have nightmares after witnessing the horrible way I'm going to kill you, traitor, said Vergil, unsheathing Yamato, while the Uchiha just smirked. You think you're so great, don't you, loser? Well, you're not. You're just a peasant. A weakling compared to me, said Sasuke, seeing the icy face of Vergil give nothing away. If I'm so weak, then you wouldn't have lost your eyes to me the first time around, and had some guy with a god complex old enough to be your grandfather, but fuck you to get replacements, said Vergil, seeing Sasuke scowling furiously in rage. I'm going to so enjoy breaking you and those sluts of yours, demon abomination, said Sasuke, bringing out his clan sword once held by his father. And I am going to enjoy slicing you to pieces in front of your little mob of Uchiha cocksuckers, said Vergil, as he moved in an instant, and Sasuke could barely keep up with him in blocking the attacks with his Sharingan. However, the Sharingan eyes did little when the precision behind Vergil's skills with the blade, as the Namikaze soon proved to be too much for the Uchiha, and cut through the sword along with the arm. When Vergil was behind him, Sasuke's sword arm fell onto ground, and the Uchiha cried out in pain. Damn you, loser. Don't you know who I am? Haven't you figured it out by now? I'm an Uchiha. I'm an elite shinobi. And you are nothing. Do you hear me? You are a freak of nature that shouldn't exist. You are nothing. said Sasuke, turning around to face Vergil, who was sheathing his sword, and stopped for a second to look at him. If what you said is indeed true, then this so-called nothing, as you have dubbed me, has just killed you, and that makes you Uchiha Sasuke less than nothing, said Vergil before sheathing his blade completely, and Uchiha Sasuke had been cut into chunky pieces, while screaming out a horrible blood-choking death. Looking at the direction of the mob looking at him in shock at how he had dispatched the last Uchiha so easily, Vergil simply cracked his neck, and began walking towards them, while the root shinobi appeared in front of the civilians, to kill the half-devil. Vergil was not impressed in the slightest, as he heard the crowd yelling, and screaming for his blood, now that he had committed the ultimate sin in their eyes. However, Namikaze just ignored it all, as he brought out Cerberus, and the half-devil could practically hear the dog demon turn weapon growling with bloodlust. Elsewhere in Konoha, root shinobi were practically everywhere. The people in Konoha, who were shinobi, and civilians supporting Danzo, were fighting those loyal to the Hokage. It was pandemonium to say the least, as least shinobi loyal to Tsunade were being overwhelmed by Root, and then the number of people they had actually sworn to protect. Fortunately for Tsunade's forces, Vergil's super hot group of sexy women, as quoted by Anko of course, had rushed to the scene, and had flanked the entire opposition. Now normally, it was considered a bit of a taboo to harm the civilians of Konoha, since they provided a symbiotic relationship with the shinobi of the village. They provided the stores, market, generic income outside of shinobi doing missions, and the overall growth of the village, when various shinobi settled down to form shinobi families that aren't a part of clans. However, given the situation now with the people exploiting the taboo and the belief they had more value than they actually did, it was clear to the group of women that these people needed a cold-hard reality check, and for some of them, it came in the form of being sent to the morgue. Those that weren't killed, were badly injured, or chose to flee in the hopes of not getting caught, while being very surprised that they were struck down, since they always thought least shinobi wouldn't kill or hurt their own people. Among those fleeing was Haruno Sakura. "Where are you running, Pinky?" said Unko, as she wrapped the girl up with her snakes, and brought pink-haired Genin up, so they were face to face. "Let me go, you snake slut. My mom told me about you. Apprentice to Orochimaru and the biggest slut of the entire village," said Sakura, who heard one of the snakes to her left hiss, and the one to her right open its mouth ready to strike. Big talk coming from the daughter of that title. "I know all about your mother too, bitch. She spreads her legs for just about anyone with status back in the day. Didn't matter who they were, she opened up, and said give it to me to any guy wanting an easy lay. She tried to fuck her way into the clans, but that didn't take when word spread of her plans, and got stuck with a civilian councilman for her husband. Wasn't that good in the sack either, from what your mother said one night when drunk off her ass, saying he was tiny, and was quick ender, while she had to personally finish herself. Hell, she only married your father, because he got your mother knocked up with you, and they were both forced to marry," said Anko, seeing tears form on Sakura's face, and knew she hit home about the pink-haired girl's parents. "Shut up. What do you know? You're just an ugly, broken down, and over-the-hell hag," said Sakura, not realizing her words were pissing Anko off. "What I know is I am about to tear your flesh clean off your bones," said Anko, as she unloaded her anger on Sakura, and the pink-haired girl screamed out in horror at the woman making good on her word. Hokage Monument, with Tsunade and Shizune. Tsunade scowled at Danzo, who hid his root shinobi beside him, and the two shinobi councilmen, showing they clearly sided with the Warhawk. Not surprising, they were always more in favor of doing things Danzo's way, which was to find an excuse to fight just about anyone that crossed them in the slightest, and didn't believe in restraint, much less discretion when it came to others. "So you finally showed your true colors, huh, Danzo? Why now? Afraid you'll die of old age before you can take the title of Hokage from me? Lying in a hospital with a bedpan, and having no control of your body, too much for you to handle, knowing that is your life, so long as I'm Hokage until I choose my successor," said Tsunade, seeing Danzo scowl at her, and knew she hit a sore spot. "You're unfit to be Hokage. Making alliances with other countries, shinobi villages, and trying to instill peace is not what a shinobi does. We bring about war, we are supposed to kill without question, and we do it from the shadows with the public eyes of those around us being none the wiser about it. The only way for this village to survive is to make war with everyone and rule over all of the elemental countries," said Danzo before revealing his concealed arm and bandaged face to Tsunade, so she could see him in all his potential glory. "What have you done to yourself?" said Tsunade in horror along with Shizune, as they both saw Danzo, and the two former teammates of the Sandaime Hokage smirk. "Only what needs to be done. With the optical powers of the Uchiha clan combined with the Senju clan bloodline in this arm, I can tame any of the 9 demons along with their vessels, and bend them to my will. I will rule this world like a god, and there is nothing you can do to stop me, you little bitch," said Danzo, as he drew his sword, hitting within his cane using his normal arm, and saw Tsunade seething in rage while Shizune readying herself for a fight. "Bastard. All you care about is power. No wonder my granduncle didn't choose you to be Hokage. He clearly saw the wickedness in your heart and lust for power. I wouldn't be surprised if you had a hand in his death just in hopes to take his place as Hokage before he nominated Sensei at the last moment, said Tsunade, seeing Danzo's eyes narrow, and she knew it was hit right on the button. Danzo had secretly sold out her granduncle, knowing he would have a much better shot of being Hokage when returning to Konoha, since the councils would be within their right and authoritative power to select a successor if the late Hokage didn't. What Danzo didn't expect was the second Hokage foiling his plans and aim his rival Sarutobi Hiruzen at the last possible moment before giving his life to let them both escape. I am the only one fit to be in that position of power. Not you, not the Sandaime, not the Yondaime, and certainly not that demonic abomination Namikaze Vergil, said Danzo, as he knew his Sharingan that replaced his original one wouldn't work on a Senju. Even if that Senju was unable to use her family bloodline, and would have to fight ironically using the Senju bloodline against Tsunade. If there was anyone more qualified than you, Danzo, it would be Namikaze Vergil, and we both know your so-called power from that mutated body of yours won't make him do what you want, said Tsunade. As Danzo frowned, knowing that was indeed the case since Sasuke was unable to do it with his eyes, and then again with Itachi when the two fought some time ago. We'll see, Tsunade. Or rather, I'll see since you will be dead, said Danzo, as he was about to use the Mokiton bloodline and crush Tsunade in a single move. Must you act like a villain from a movie? Your actions are so cliché, said Vergil, as he appeared behind those loyal to Danzo with Yamato drawn and looking at them with a bored look. I was hoping you would show up, demon. Now I can use the power of both influential bloodlines under my possession to force you into submission, said Danzo, as he focused his Sharingan in his head on Vergil and tried to use its hypnotic powers. Unfortunately for Danzo, all he got for his troubles was a smirk from Vergil and a small chuckle from the Namikaze's mouth and a half-devil walking towards him. Don't bother trying, Danzo. You'll hurt yourself, said Vergil, as he was blocked by the group of Root Shinobi and the glaring Shinobi councilman. You will submit to us now, demon, or else those sluts of yours will suffer, said Hamura, as he saw the smirk leave Vergil, and those eyes of the Namikaze become dangerously icy. Your forces and those that support you are even as we speaking being taken down. The Uchiha was among the first to fall at my hands, and I have no doubt the girls I care about are effectively taking everyone else down they cross along the way, said Vergil, seeing the two Shinobi councilmen looking at him in rage, while Danzo's face continued to stay motionless since it was to be expected. So the boy died. Such arrogance, said Danzo, as he saw Vergil scowl at him, and was clearly displeased by his lack of compassion for his subordinate. You don't even care your pawn for the future has been killed. Do you not care that your future successor has been killed, and the Uchiha bloodline is now extinct? Said Vergil, as he saw shrug his shoulders. The fool was a pawn. The Uchiha heard what he wanted to hear. I dangled a carrot under his nose, and like a good pet he reached for it, said Danzo simply, while Vergil just got angrier. So people mean nothing to you? They could work themselves to the bone for you, and yet the moment they die or of no use to your purpose, they get thrown away without so much as a tear shed for all their hard work. Is it? Said Vergil, as he saw Danzo once again seem to care less about the simple fact that his subordinates died around him. So long as I live to see the vision of the world under my rule, I don't see the need to waste time mourning the dead, and the useless people who serve me when they no longer can, said Danzo, seeing Vergil's grip on Yamato Titan. And you honestly wonder why the second Hokage didn't choose you as his successor, said Vergil before moving at high speed and cut through Danzo's allies like they were nothing. I'm the only one who can change things. Even if it means I'm the only one left alive in the world to make that statement true, said Danzo, preparing to fight Vergil sword to sword, but was surprised to see the Namikaze putting his weapon away and bring out Cerberus. You really are Baka. All the more reason to take you down now before you screw up the world more than it already is, said Vergil, as he began using his skills with the demonic weapon and hitting Danzo ruthlessly with it. Your attacks are wasted on me. Because of the Sharingan eyes surgically attached to this arm, I can take all the hits you throw at me, and cannot be defeated by the likes of you, said Danzo, as the eyes on his Sharingan closed one by one, and didn't perturb the old man in the slightest. Then your arm will have to be removed, said Vergil, as he spun violently with Cerberus striking Danzo's much larger than usual arm, and freezing it right at the shoulder with the inhumanly cold ice, instantly making it impossible for the old warhawk to use the arm's power. Damn you. I wouldn't be denied what should have always been mine. Obey me. Obey me now, said Danzo, as he took this moment of close proximity with Vergil, and stabbed him in the back with his sword before using the angle he was at to look directly into the Namikaze's eyes again to force the boy into submission in his injured condition. Such a waste of human life. You're so pathetic, Danzo, it's not even funny, said Vergil before he went poof, and revealing himself to be a shadow clone. No. I wasted my Sharingan on a damn clone of the demon, thought Danzo before he felt the ground underneath him become frozen and couldn't move. Nice arm. I think I'll take it, said Vergil, as he put Cerberus away before grabbing the altered arm and yanking it right out of Danzo's body, while the old warhawk finally showed some emotion by screaming out in pain. You think this will stop me from achieving my dream? I am the greatest shinobi in the world. You are nothing compared to me. Just like Sandaime, the Yondaime, and all the other, so-called Hokages of the Leaf. They are nothing compared to me, and I will, said Danzo, but was silenced via his head exploding from the punch Tsunade gave to the back of his skull, and Vergil merely looked at the female Hokage with a raised eyebrow. What? All he did was talk about himself and how great he was. Someone had to shut him up, said Tsunade, seeing the look on Vergil's face. I suppose. What do you want to do with this? Said Vergil, handing Tsunade Danzo's mutated arm filled with Sharingan eyes. Destroy it. This arm represents an unholy union and unnatural powers. I don't have to have sense like yours to know that much, said Tsunade, throwing it on the ground next to Danzo's corpse, and Vergil used a fire jutsu to burn both so only ash would remain. Good riddance. Now to put Danzo's little rebellion down completely, said Vergil, as he went along with Tsunade leaped down into the village. And put down the riot while also capturing some of the root shinobi down there to tell them everything about what Danzo had been up to since the group's supposed disbandment. Sometime later, the rebellion Danzo started had been put down soon after the Warhawk's death was made known to everyone that hadn't been killed during the fighting. Several root shinobi along with civilians in the riots had been caught, interrogated by Ibiki, and had gathered quite a sum of information. Apparently, through Danzo's root shinobi, the civilians had created a bit of an internal network designed to monitor Vergil's actions when he was just Uzumaki Naruto, and was ignored by the Sandaime Hokage. To a certain extent, this was used to actually kill the boy, rather than force him into submission. What was troubling about this information was that so many people had a hand in it, and not just those among the group of rioters that were put down. The whole network was secretly funded by the civilian council, as they wanted an excuse to kick the demon vessel out of Konoha, and had even tried to secretly instigate the reason by recruiting different shinobi around the leaf with an axe to grind. Needless to say, those people not in the rioting, but were still a part of it in the past, were all rounded up too, and the entire network had been ripped out of the leaf for good. The ones responsible for helping cause the more serious charges of abuse to the demon vessel while growing up were executed without a trial, knowing how pointless it would be, and those that did were instantly pronounced guilty, despite the reason behind the network being called justified in the words of those brought before Tsunade. The Hokage called it their actions stupid, idiotic, and few other choice words to them in general, that had to be censored on the legal transcript sent to the fire daimyo about the whole event. The people tried for their crimes were sent to jail, with those of shinobi skills having all of their chakra permanently sealed away. Another thing Tsunade did was set the record straight about the Uchiha clan, and how they planned to overthrow the Sandaime in a coup, had Itachi not done what he did in killing all the traitors of the Leaf. The clan was forever marked from that day forward in the history books of the Leaf, as traitors, lower than trash fools, and all the members of their family, with the exception of Itachi, even though he became a missing nin for it. Tsunade even went on to further state that even though Itachi was dead, she was giving the man an official pardon for his actions, and would be considered the only last loyal Uchiha of Konoha. As for Haruno Sakura, she would never be the same again after Anko got through with her, and was now kept at the hospital on a permanent basis. Not that Tsunade couldn't heal Sakura, but the Hokage felt it was a more suitable punishment to simply have the girl live in constant pain, and have various medical devices sustain life support functions, all being paid for from girls' now obliterated family fortune they acquired through various illegal means. Well, that's one major shitstorm is over, said Tsunade, slumping back in her chair and letting out a sigh, knowing this was going to be a taxing couple of weeks. At least it couldn't get any worse. Tsunade hime, said Jiraiya, jumping into her office with a smile on his face. It just got worse. Where were you, pervert? Said Tsunade, as she punched him through a wall, and into a chunin on the other side of it. Ow. Nice to see you too. If you must know, I had to go check on my spy network for the Akatsuki, and when I get back here, I find the village is almost in flames, said Jiraiya, as he rubs his sore jaw, and sees Tsunade smirking at him. Well, as you can see, the village population got smaller, and the number of village idiots went coincidentally down with them, said Tsunade before explaining Danzo's attempt at taking over Konoha in a hostile manner before being taken down in the attempt. That's good to hear. As for what my spies tell me about the Akatsuki, they're going to go into hiding for a bit until they can find a way to replace their lost two Akatsuki members Itachi and Kasame after their run-in with Vergil. Not only that, but Yugura the Mizukage of Mist is in the process of being overthrown, and went to seal the demon inside a new Jinchuriki after it returns in 3 years, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade scowl at this information. So had Vergil died at the hands of these idiots years ago, Kyuubi would have returned in a few years' time, and killed us all with our guards down, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya nod. Yeah. Though not many people know that kind of information, since there is no history of any kind about Jinchuriki ever dying with the demon they hold coming back after their death. Ironically enough, all Jinchuriki having lived long lives, and only dying soon after transferring the demon to another person, said Jiraiya, having learned this from what he learned about Kushina being the previous vessel, and then the Shodarume's own wife before her. And give their scars to some other poor child. What does his spy network have on the other Jinchuriki? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya think for a moment. Miss lost one there too, after when their six-tailed Jinchuriki went missing. The Mizukage is still around, though for how long is unknown. Taki has the seven-tailed vessel Fu, though the people there aren't what you'd call friendly to her. Sabaku no Gar is still in Suna, and is now loved by his people along with being their Kazukage. The two from Iwu left for exile after having enough of the abuse and hate the village gave them, while the right Kage of Kumo is making sure his younger brother doesn't do the same after the fiasco, with Yujito getting liberated by Vergil, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade rub her temples in thought. Troublesome, said Tsunade tiredly. Yeah. I was hoping to take Vergil with me to find I was lost Jinchuriki, to warn them both of the Akatsuki, before heading over to Taki to do the same. I've already sent a message to Suna, to give them a heads up, but Taki is trickier since theirs doesn't necessarily live inside the village, and have her more like a watchdog in the forest area around them, said Jiraiya, seeing Tsunade's eyes narrowing dangerously at that, and he suspected she was picturing Vergil like that, if Danzo had gotten a hold of him. If my grandfather knew how these people treated his gifts, he'd never have given them in the first place, and kept them all here, said Tsunade, as she saw Jiraiya shrug, knowing that it was pointless in terms of what could have been, and who was to blame for this. That's why I need Vergil with me when I see them. Being a vessel himself, even in his half-devil state, will further prove we're telling them the truth, and keep me from getting my ass kicked by the two from Iwa, if they are together. Let's face it, Jinchuriki from the same village will only trust each other, and no one else unless it's someone just like them in regards to their burdens, said Jiraiya, wondering how both of them had let it get so out of control with their godson. Okay. But not for another week. I may need Vergil here for any missions that pop up before then, and he's more than earned a few days off, said Tsunade, as she saw Jiraiya nod, and leap onto the edge of the window. What about me? Do I get some special reprieve for all my hard work? Said Jiraiya, who got his answer in the form of Tsunade's fist to his face, and sent flying out of the village. Yeah. A trip to the hospital for your broken jaw, said Tsunade before slumping back into her chair, and drinking some sake she had on hand. She had definitely earned this. Omake, beware Kin's cooking. Kin-chan, can you tell me what you put in your cooking this time? Said Vergil, standing in the kitchen, as he looked at the food his slave and lover had made for him. With his sword drawn. That's the usual stuff, Vergil-sama. Honest, said Kin, as she leaped away from the slimy lime-green tentacle trying to slice through her leg, and growling at him. I thought Haku-chan was teaching you how to be a better cook, said Vergil, as he cut through the tentacles, and then sliced the gelatinous blob to pieces. She is, but said Kin hesitantly. But, Vergil sheathing his sword. Uncle-sen said she would help too. It was her recipe, said Kin, showing him the recipe, and saw Vergil's eyes narrow at reading them. I see. So the snake mistress tried to prank to us, it seems. So, one turn deserves another, and as such we should prank her, said Vergil, grinning at Kin, who wondered how they were going to prank Anko. And then she saw him looking at one of the recipes she had been experimenting with before sporting a devious grin herself. Namikaze states, later that evening, this looks wonderful, Vergil-kun. You didn't have to have Kin-chan make such a great meal for me, said Anko, as she looked at the meal before her, and saw Vergil smiling slightly. Nonsense. You are my honored guest, and I need to thank you for that recipe you gave Kin-chan earlier. She plans to get the ingredients for us to have it for lunch tomorrow, said Vergil, sipping some sake, and seeing Anko pause slightly for a mere fraction of a second, before starting on the meal in front of her. Yes. The recipe is really special, and when put together just right it's really something to die for, said Anko, while mentally laughing with evil villain laughter cackling in her head at the prank she would pull on him. I hope so. I just hope Kin-chan got the recipe for the food you're eating down right, since there have been some side effects to eating it, said Vergil, seeing Anko stop eating and look at him with a raised eyebrow. Side effects? Like what? Said Anko, while mentally having a panic attack. Oh, nothing serious really. Just some nausea, a small headache that a simple aspirin can cure, and a very rare case of fast-acting explosive diarrhea, said Vergil, seeing Anko's eyes now bugging out of her eyes and begin hyperventilating, while looking at Tsuchi-kin currently being sheepish. It's one of the punishments Vergil-sama threatens Teiwai-chan with if she swears too much, said Kin, while Anko was doing a mental checklist of herself to feel the nausea, the headache, and quickly grabbed her stomach before looking around wildly. Where is your bathroom? Said Anko, seeing Vergil point to his left. Last door on the right. Oh, and you cleaning that bathroom up afterwards, said Vergil, calling out to Anko, now running a guy without weight speed to the bathroom. Do you think we were too hard on her, Vergil-sama? Said Kin, hearing the cries of pain from Anko, and winced at the horrible noises that came with it. Kin-chan, did you read the recipe name hidden under the genjutsu? It's titled Tentacle Rape Monster Pudding, said Vergil, seeing Kin go pale for a second before shivering in fear, with the shiver turning to anger. walking over to the locked bathroom door holding Anko with her current predicament. "I take it you don't want seconds, Anko-chan," said Kin sweetly, with Anko moaning out in pain for loud, ugly, and wet sounds echoed throughout the room. "You better take that as a no," said Vergil, eating his own meal knowing his was safe. Endomake. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.